Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hope Champions podcast, where we are listening to stories from Hope Champions in a variety of professions across our community.
At Project Harmony, we see a lot of darkness here and troubled youth. And what does it look like when we can put hope into something like missing and anti-trafficking youth services?
Well, I have the perfect person for that, Tessa. His name is Taylor Newton, and he is our director over our missing youth and anti-trafficking services. And we have a lot of work that we have been putting in within this program. It has skyrocketed off, and there are so many different things that are being implemented. A lot of the things that we're talking about are firsts in CACs. And Taylor's going to be able to explain a lot more specifics about that and how that can be used with the youth that can be missing or that just keep running away from homes. So we're going to have some good conversations about that.
Welcome to the Hope Champions podcast with Project Harmony. I'm Tessa.
I'm John.
And I'm Scott.
Join us as we explore the science of hope and its profound impact on healing right here on the Hope Champions podcast.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Davis, and I'm here with Taylor Newton, the director of our missing youth and anti-trafficking team. So, Taylor, we worked together for quite some time, so we're just going to have a conversation today about hope. Now, I'm pretty sure somewhere sports is going to get sprinkled into that.
I hope so.
Because we often do that when we see each other in the hallway. So, I'll just let you introduce yourself. How did you get into this role? How did you get to this place here at Project Harmony?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. I do appreciate our NFL, Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers talks by the coffee. That's necessary every Monday.
It is.
So I've been at Project Harmony for almost 9 years. I can't believe it's going to be 9 years in January. When I started here, our agency looked very different. We have 3 buildings now, almost like a campus feel. And when I started, we were in the 11949 building. All of our services, prevention, direct services, therapy, everything was in-house in that one building. And when I started, I was a family advocate. I came from the case management world.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I was in the clinic. I was in children's services.
Okay.
Came from case management world with NFC, which was
before.
Hold on. Yeah, we're learning now.
Hold on, because yes, we just learned something.
Yeah.
You were at NFC as well?
I was at NFC.
I was there too.
Oh, really? I was there for about 16, 18 months.
Okay. Yeah, I was there. I started in 2017 and then came to Project Harmony in 2019.
Oh, so we must have just switched, because my first day was January 2017 here, Project Harmony.
Okay, yes. Right
so
when you left, I came in.
Held the door for you on my way out. Well, I'm glad we both ended up here.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Where we should be. So I started as a family advocate, did that for a couple years, really enjoyed working with the families and more of that direct role when you come to a CAC's responsibility as a family advocate. Then progressed, went back to school at UNO within the MSW and MPA program. And during that's when I saw the opportunity in coordination. And coordination at Project Harmony is responsible for our MDTs. So I help facilitate multidisciplinary teams. On a wide variety of kind of specialties. So I started with the sexual abuse treatment team, which is an MDT that meets monthly. I did Youth Impact, which is additional MDT where the youth and the families actually come to the table and you problem solve their juvenile justice or delinquency charge. But then in that work, as we're just developing new MDTs or identifying gaps in the community, that's when Project Harmony also started working with the missing reports. So while I was with coordination, OPD came to Project Harmony in almost 2018 and said, we have this problem with missing youth in Omaha. We're having over 3,200 missing reports on an annual basis, and our law enforcement officers in the field can't respond to all those and do a good job to impact or to decrease these missing reports. So if you have 3,200 missing reports a year, you're looking at 9 or 10 missing reports per day law enforcement's responding to. That's a lot of resources. That's a lot of time for road patrol to respond to that, take that report, broadcast it out. So Lieutenant Shear at the time said, we need help. And I think our relationship with Project Harmony was established through those traditional CAC cases like sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect cases. So they knew we did good work and they trust us as a partner. So this is almost just the next layer of how can the CAC help law enforcement with now this new quote unquote crime, which is a missing report.
No.
So that was in 2018. Colleen Roth helped to lead that. In my experience as an MDT facilitator coordinator, we knew that we would most likely need another MDT to serve this new population, which is missing youth.
Yeah.
So I helped develop that MDT alongside with a previous coordinator, Mandy, and that's where I got my feet wet in the missing population in Omaha, and that was a great start. So we were meeting monthly, staffing really difficult cases, letting the community know this is an issue, getting professionals around the table about it, and that's where we started with was the Missing Youth Services program in 2018. That just developed. We realized that there's a lot of kids who need additional help. There's even kids who are considered higher risk than those missing reports. So eventually in 2021, we started the Anti-Trafficking Youth Services. So we had Missing Youth Services, MYS, Anti-Trafficking Youth Services, ATYS, 2 separate programs, but really serving the same high-risk youth population. Yeah. And then that's when we started the trafficking program in 2021. That's when I moved on from coordination and helped develop that program to what it is today. So now we have, once we're fully staffed, we'll have a director, 3 managers, and 12 specialists, along with a community impact coordinator who can help build those relationships that we need to help be innovative and create the resources or additional services that these clients seek in Omaha. So we're a big team now, and it's just great that we have an agency that knows how important this issue is. We have a collaboration with law enforcement who trusts the CAC, and we work with them on a daily basis. So it's been really great. It's been fun kind of building as we go.
So you mentioned missing youth and then anti-trafficking services. Why is that such a good mesh to work together?
Yeah, that was almost like a coincidental or accidental mesh. But once we started realizing that these are the same youth or same population, it made a lot of sense for our 2 programs, Missing Youth Services and our Anti-Trafficking Services, to combine. So what is known today as our Missing and Anti-Trafficking Youth Services program. But it's a mesh because missing reports are the number 1 indicator for juvenile sex trafficking. So that's kind of where that starts, or those high-risk youth are started, is looking at the missing reports. But as we've worked with these cases or learned more about these youth, there's other indicators that we learned about as we learned about this population. So missing reports was always the first one we looked at. But then we also partnered with NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And NCMEC gave us these 5 criteria that we could also provide a lens to look at youth in Omaha differently to identify who's high risk. So for example, we had 3,200 missing reports in Omaha when we started. So if you just take those youth of those 3,200 missing reports and you filter them through this 5 criteria created by NCMEC, that created our next high-risk youth list in Omaha. So those 5 criteria include 3 or more missing reports, a history of child abuse and neglect, a history of child welfare involvement, a history of sexual abuse, which is a big indicator as well, along with missing reports, and a history of substance use. So if those 5 indicators are met, that would create our high-risk youth list. So again, we use those 3,200 missing reports, filtered them through those 5 criteria, and that gave us a list in 2020, sometime within the past few years. That created a list of 521 high-risk youth in Omaha, and that was our starting point. And you hear that number. That's too big of a number. We did the same measure in 2024, and that number is now under 350, which is great. Same with the missing reports. We had 3,200 in 2018. Last year, we had 2,600. So these metrics of missing youth and high-risk youth are decreasing, but the missing reports was the starting point for our missing services and our anti-trafficking services because it's the number 1 indicator.
So with that, you see a lot of heartache, a lot of really tough situations, right? With that, and why we're even here talking today is about hope. So when you think about those things, what have you, before we started in our training department really focusing on hope a lot, what did hope mean to you? And I'm sure without even really going off of that really specifically hope science, you had a lot of hope that you had to help instill in those youth. How do you feel that has been something that you've and your team have done?
Yeah. So I think we could talk about hope as maybe we perceived it when we started, and then how we perceive and use hope after Hope Science.
Yeah.
So when we started, I think the concept of hope was, especially as we were a program just getting off the ground, was, can this program sustain? It was almost like internal hope for what we're trying to build. It's like, is this a good idea? Point. Is this something that, is gonna work? Like, serving a population that's missing is in the title, kind of maybe seems like, are they going to be there to help, work with, and are they going to be willing to engage with us? And I think as we learned more about these youth who do need hope and who do have to be approached differently, and then we paired that with Hope Science, we really learned, hope is exactly what we need to make this work. Yeah. So when we started, we were learning more about the youth, kind of what got them to this point, and each youth that we serve, until the first 3 years of MATYS, we served over 330 clients. So we learned a lot. But every client we served, we also created a case profile. These case profiles basically detail their entire trauma history. So with our partnership with law enforcement and DHHS, we are able to see a timeline of what they've been through, almost for some since birth, all the way through until they're referred to us and even after. So once you put their timeline on paper and you see the patterns, it's way more understandable, almost literally tangible, about how they're at in their life. So if you have a youth that has, DV reports or concerns when they're 2 years old, they've had allegations of sexual abuse, being a victim of that crime, into their younger years, in teenage years, then you can see when their missing reports start. Then you can see when they're, if they pick up a charge or they're involved in some type of system now, which creates its own complications. And then you get to us when they're 15 or 16. It makes sense why maybe they don't have a lot of hope. Yeah. Or it makes sense why they're quote unquote perceived as a bad kid. And I think the difference is, after we, had hope in the program working, had hope in approaching these youth, we utilized Hope Science to then kind of flip our script about, these aren't bad kids. If we looked at what they've been through, what they need is hope. The foundation of our program should be hope. We can get a missing report and educate them on missing dynamics. We can educate them on trafficking concerns and what they can look out for. We can help them increase school attendance, help them accomplish other goals they identify. But the foundation of all those surface level goals is hope. What they're seeking is someone to have hope in them, because all of that system fatigue, all of those allegations they've been a part of, can take a toll.
Yeah.
And you see that, and all these behaviors mean something, and that timeline can help explain what these behaviors mean. So it's important for our specialists to bring them hope, not give up on their hope, show them that an adult that cares about them is hopeful for their future. And that's where I think Hope Science helps our specialists be prepared to impact them with hope. Yeah.
That's a really good way of showing, or just having that mindset of knowing that there's a science behind what these children and what these youth are going through.
For sure.
And then that can give you a little bit of more of a roadmap. So can you give me maybe one or two, or maybe an example, or maybe just a program example of what you have possibly implemented, or what you have done now that you do know Hope Science can really affect them?
Yeah. So I think something we try to instill with all of our cases are a sense of trust and transparency, and then consistency. Those are kind of the big three main qualities we try to have our specialists bring into the lives of these youth, because it's something maybe they've lacked. Maybe they haven't found consistency in case professionals they've worked with. Maybe some case professionals or some people in their life hasn't been transparent, and they feel outed or wronged or snitched on or whatever it may be. So it's really important for us to make sure we operate with those things. But again, all of those things are coming from a place of, we are hopeful for a better future for you, and we're going to use those three things to help get there. So there's a few examples where hope is seen almost on like a whole spectrum. So when we first look at maybe some younger teenagers who are in high school, maybe they've had a pattern, or you look at those case profiles and you see missing reports, you see delinquency charges, maybe they're running with wrong crowds, or some kids that maybe have negative influences. And even the idea of graduating high school is down the road. They go to school, then they go on run, or they go missing from care, so they miss all these classes. So we've seen kids go to school, bounce around different high schools, go missing from care, and then they can miss months of school. So when we identify those youth from the missing reports, build a connection with them, oftentimes those youth are missing not because they're not capable of doing school, or they're school's too big of a challenge for them, like intellectually.
Yeah.
But it's almost to the point where they've missed so much school now. What's the point of going back?
Yeah.
Or
so far behind.
So far behind, or that anxiety builds. Well, I've missed 3 months. If I go back, then I have to start 3 months ago, and it just is kind of that barrier that they're building for themselves. But we can understand why.
Yeah.
So that's an example where I think we have to show them hope about, we can help you through this. We'll partner with the school social worker. We have an educational rights attorney to help build any additional supports in your OPS school to navigate those challenges or barriers. Because I think as a 15-year-old, you miss 3 months of school. Yeah, that's a big pressure to even start school, let alone what you're dealing with at home, any trafficking concerns, what your friends are going through, what you're going through with your friends. So starting them in school and graduating is a huge, hopeful goal for a lot of the youth we serve. And we've seen kids navigate some of those things, get back into the typical school setting, maybe have additional support with their IEP plan, with our help from our Educational Rights Council partners, and they have graduated. So that's just a good example of sometimes we don't understand what the challenges they are until we learn about it, until we work them on a daily basis, and then we have to bring them hope to see a future.
It's so, in like every one of those examples, it's so easy for anyone on the outside to look at that and think, oh, it's not really that big of an issue, or maybe even look at it and not think that it could be an issue. One example that we use whenever we're doing the trainings is like, how can you be hopeful just with the child attending school?
Yeah.
When they show up to school and they're late, what's the first thing they're going to ask? Why are you late? What's going on? That child may not want to say, my parents are abusing substances and they didn't wake up in enough time to take my sibling to school, so I had to make sure that they get to school. Now I get to come. And then the first thing they're going to do is grill me and ask me. They don't want to tell them what the issue is at home. So instead of dealing with that, I'm just not going to go.
Right.
So
and that builds and snowballs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how can we make it hopeful just for them to at least come to school? Hey, glad that you're here. Did you eat breakfast? Let me see if there's still some left that I can give you. Little small things like that we don't really look at and consider how much of an impact that can make on them.
And sometimes that stuff takes an extra effort behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So like we'll have a specialist assigned to, let's say, a 15-year-old, and we're trying to get them back in school. That's our goal. But we also understand that telling a 15-year-old, hey, you really got to go to school. One, it's the law right now for you, and two, you should for your future. Like that can only get us so far. So what we try to do is kind of go that extra step about, we're building hope in the youth, but we're also meeting with the social worker. We're letting them know we're trying to get them to school just for one day starting next Monday. And if they show up, even for its first period, second period, that's a win. We're going to build this up. And can you help us celebrate that win? If they go a whole week, then we have an incentive with some of our partners, and maybe we can take them out to lunch on a Friday and show them, like, we're still here for you. We can make these small goals build bigger goals, and that kind of gives the hope momentum going. There's another example, because these small big wins are totally on a spectrum. So if graduating high school is a massive win, but we've had these smaller wins that we consider massive as well. There was one example where we've worked with this youth now who's a young adult since she was like 17 or 18. Now she's 21, and she's gone through the roller coaster of success and struggles, failure, setbacks, I should say. But again, our consistency, and something that we hold as a value for our program, we're going to maintain our relationship with you despite the setbacks, because that's what they need. Someone who doesn't give up on them. Well, this young adult, she's going through her challenges. Unfortunately, she made her way all the way to Montana. And in Montana, she was found by law enforcement being exploited. There's an investigation and things out there in that state. But Montana called OPD because she mentioned she's from Omaha, and went right to our missing persons unit, who's in the same hallway as our MATYS program. And Brett obviously knows who's assigned to this, and Amanda's a specialist. So that team let Amanda know, we found this young adult. We need to help get her back to Omaha, because that's where she lives. That's where her minimal supports are. What are the next steps? And that's kind of where our program steps up. So Amanda navigated this. We ended up getting a bus for her back to Omaha, but we didn't hear anything from her. Like, we facilitated this transportation, and then it was kind of like, shoot, I hope it works out. We haven't heard
she back got from on her. The bus. Yeah.
Well, fast forward a couple of days, Amanda gets this text, and all it says is, "Hey, it's me." There's no name. It's a brand new number. Amanda's kind of lost and being like, "Well, who is this?"
Yeah.
So she asks, like, almost like that new phone, "Who is this?"
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah.
Like who's reaching
Yeah.
out? And she says her name, and she just says her first name, and that's it. And Amanda's like, thrilled that she's communicating. Good to hear from you. Asking a few follow-ups without like drilling into it and
getting
kind
into
of like
the business
pushing her
and
back.
whatever.
Yeah. She didn't respond, which is fine. But we celebrated that, especially with Amanda, because that "Hey, it's me" text means the world.
Yeah.
And it took her 3 years of relationship to travel across states. She doesn't tell us, where she's at, the address, or if she's safe, but it's just like she needed to tell Amanda, "Hey, it's me. This is my number now. I'm back in Omaha." There's so much more behind that "Hey, it's me" text
of course.
than those 3 words.
Because he looked at Amanda as that safe person
Exactly.
that they could tell anything to or whatever to, and just to let that person know. That's huge.
Yeah. And that's the small hope that we try to plant the seeds.
Yeah.
And maybe during the long year, you feel like things aren't working, but you never really know the impact or the hope you're building in people. And sometimes a small text like just can mean the world. And it's just another example how hope's important.
And that's huge because that's showing how that's making a difference, and you're able to show results for that. So it's easy, and there's nothing wrong with making sure that we focus on the youth that we're serving. But talk about, or give me your thoughts over how hope is benefiting your staff. How is something, maybe even instilling hope in each other in the work that they're doing? Or maybe just stakeholders, because you were able to show them the proof in the pudding, basically.
Yeah.
So how is your staff being able to do that? Because this is heavy work.
Yeah.
And there's probably, like you said, the setbacks that come. It's not only that person that's working with that youth directly, but that's going to be told with with the staff to know that, okay, this was something that they were looking forward to, and then boom, a setback. So how is hope, or how are you able to manage that within the team?
Yeah, I think instilling hope in the clients is important, but it's almost just as, or maybe even more important, to instill hope in the people doing the work.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at, this profession of child welfare or serving youth or law enforcement, burnout is common.
I always use the airplane, put your mask on first before you help someone else. Because
Exactly.
if you can't, then who's going to do it?
Yeah. So as, leaders of this program, myself and some managers, I think we often talk about making sure they're the specialists doing the day-to-day work, doing the hard work, having those caseloads, managing their time to make sure they're there for all of their cases, because they do feel like they should be there. And it's a responsibility, and it can feel like a burden or a lot of weight being that trusted adult for these high-risk youth. So we make sure we celebrate those wins. So something we do every Friday is our success wall, which we've started in the hallway, which has actually benefited a few different ways.
Okay.
So every Friday we do shout outs for the team. So we ask each person to give a shout out to someone else that they've noticed that they've either accomplished, built hope in someone, built a new relationship, some small win that we can celebrate.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to fall down or feel drowned by the setbacks. So we do that. We do shout outs. So basically they're hopeful shout outs about what have you seen your team do this week that you want to say in front of the group. We write it on note cards. We make sure we say it and hear it in front of everybody. Then we put it up on our wall. And it's helpful because we should celebrate those small wins, and people should see the work that they do. And I do want the team to know about the work other people are doing, so then everyone feels like they're a part of something. But then something else happened. I was like, oh, I didn't anticipate that, but it was great. One of our specialists, she has a son. He's probably 5 or 6. He came to visit her, which is awesome. And as we're just walking around, her son looked at the success wall and was kind of reading or just seeing what all these note cards read. Well, then he's able to see these small wins or these impact his mom's made at work. And it kind of just builds all these things. So I'm looking down the hallway. I'm like, damn, I didn't realize this success wall could also build hope with her and her family, and her son can be like, wow, my mom's doing this for other people, or she's getting this stuff done. So that was something I'm like, wow, I'm glad we did that.
It's contagious.
Yeah, and it spreads. And I think if you feel good about yourself and your family believes or understands what you're doing, that just helps a lot of things.
Yeah.
the successful also helps during tours, I think, too, because we can talk about what we do, we can introduce people, we can explain kind of what we've learned. But if they can read, if people who are learning about our program can just read successes and us celebrating a text from a young adult states away, or a graduation, or getting someone in therapy who has been scared or hasn't viewed therapy in a positive light for years, and now they've started, whatever they can see and people can learn through those successes, it also, I think, is good for our team to know that people appreciate that, but it also just spreads hope to people coming through our area.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's, like I said, to give your team that boost whenever they need that. That's big for making sure that they keep on going with it. So we already know that hope, it's about having that bright future, the pathway, and the agency. So, last question I'll probably get to you with it is, where do you see the hope for this work? We've already you explained in great detail how the program came about. So what's the bright future for this work and for the team or in the program?
Yeah.
How are you going to get there with your pathway? And then what obstacles do you see that you might have in there? So I know it's a 3-part question. So if you need to ask me again,
that's all right.
Ask me again.
Yeah.
Because that was a little long-winded.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If we look at the bright future and hope helping us get there and the pathways, if we start with maybe a macro bright future for this missing and anti-trafficking work, I hope it's truly what we've created here at Project Harmony being modeled or being taught across the country. And we've kind of started doing that with some sites already. Yes. So New York's very interested in how we started with that MDT explained earlier, the benefits in MDT and how an MDT can progress to these specialist roles and having those people that youth can count on. So I would love a bright future at the macro level for the program is us being able to help other sites, other CACs, other communities implement this model, explain the importance of collaboration with law enforcement and your CAC to serve missing youth, because I think serving missing youth is kind of the bright future for high-risk youth. It's missing reports are the number one indicator of child sex trafficking. Missing reports tell you who's having struggle at home or their environment's unsafe. So I would love to see missing reports and missing youth having more of a spotlight nationally, and I think we could help with that.
Cool.
At the micro level, I think I would love a bright future to be youth referring youth to our program.
Wow.
I think that word of mouth, I think if you can ever have families or youth talk about, and we have a case example about this, but if youth are talking with their friends who they have identified as high risk, or maybe they're caught up in things that aren't safe, or they're in a dangerous spot or could use a specialist, to me that's my perfect indicator of this is working, we're doing something right, and that's just a good I guess indicator that we're helping.
Yeah.
We're helping kids for what they need. So that would be a bright future is more word of mouth referrals, more youth telling other youth there's a service at Project Harmony, you can trust them, they will help you with what you need to do, get you back on the right track. So that would be great to see.
Okay. So how do you think we'll get there? And then what obstacles do you think we'll have along the way?
I think there's a pathway, and I think the work will prove for itself, serving the youth, being identified with law enforcement's help. So I think just maintaining our presence in the community, building these relationships, making sure our anti-trafficking initiative partners know what we're doing. We know what those partners are doing, so we can all collaborate to make the right referrals or make the right connections, because maybe we're not it. But just having that presence in the community and making sure we're serving the right youth is a start to spreading that word of mouth. Barriers, though, I think our biggest barrier right now, which is sometimes frustrating, is sometimes these families or youth aren't ready for help.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So we're a voluntary program. I would never want us to change from a voluntary program, because I think once we're court ordered or once we're ordered to be this service, we kind of lose our secret sauce about we just are here to help you. And we're truly here to help you. Yeah, we don't want to be something that you feel like you have to meet with. We want to be something that you want to meet with. So I think that's a barrier, is getting buy-in. But again, I think the work can prove for itself, and hopefully we can prove to families across Omaha that we are a helpful service.
Yeah.
But then kind of like service barriers, housing is a huge barrier for some of our youth that we serve, and sometimes they need that respite, stable housing outside of their home environment. yeah, I think right now that's our biggest barrier, is having safe housing for kids who maybe aren't in safe places. But I think that can be solved over time, or with some partnerships over time.
Yeah. Man, telling you, Taylor, I've been here for 6 years, and I've known, I know some of the stories you said, I was like, yeah, I've heard that before. But that was still a lot of information. That was still a lot of new information. So is there any way or any place to find any more information about it? Or if someone is out there and they kind of realize that maybe they have a youth that they know, is there somewhere that they can reach out, or is there someone that they can contact to be able to at least give an information to that youth? Or how does this work to be able, for anybody in the community listening, how would they be able to steer anybody your way?
Yeah. Well, I think first, if anyone has any trafficking concerns, you can always report that to your child abuse neglect hotline, or you can always report it to the Nebraska Human Trafficking Hotline. Both are great. If you don't remember those, call 911. That will get you to the right reporting service. So that just handles any concerns the community might have, because it does take all of us to see these concerns or to be vigilant or observe some of the things that help get reports started. But if you have a youth that, maybe there aren't those reportable concerns, but they're on a path that's dangerous or risky, or maybe you consider them high-risk youth, you can always contact us at Project Harmony. Just calling that main line, asking for the MATYS or the trafficking program, that would either come to me or one of our 3 managers, and we could always problem solve or provide that consultation. If you're an agency or a potential partner, we have a community impact coordinator who's designated to make these connections, do meet and greets, do conversations like this, organize trainings or facilitate community awareness events. So I think if anyone's interested, call Project Harmony, ask for the trafficking program, and we can help get you to the right person.
Perfect. And that's one of the main reasons, because our goal at Project Harmony is to end child abuse and neglect, and we know we can't do it all. So we need the community to do that. You're the first line of defense for this. If we're not getting those calls to the hotline, or if the state isn't getting those calls to the hotline, if we're not getting people brought into us and asking questions, we're not going to know.
Exactly.
So that is the best. And now that you got to meet Taylor, especially now that he's riding high on how well his team's doing, and I have to live mine week to week,
Hey, these Lions are looking good.
I know
that
week
1 was tough, but we're back.
I have to hang on to it. Every time we get a win in the Panthers Nation, that we got to just hang on there. But
I'm celebrating with you, John.
Yeah, appreciate it. I appreciate it. But Taylor, it was great talking to you. And anybody out there, please reach out to Project Harmony if you have any questions on this matter at all.
Absolutely.
But thank you again for being here, Taylor.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Hope Champions podcast with Project Harmony. For more information about the podcast or how to become a Hope Champion in your community, visit our website at projectharmony.com/Hope Champions. Listen, rate, and subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Keep up with us and the rest of Project Harmony on social media. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Project Harmony, and on X at Project Harmony 2. See y'all in the next episode.